Hey everyone, this is Jake Clark and John Schneider from Fargo 3D Printing. This is podcast number 3, I believe. So today what we're going to talk about is a Pittsburgh trip that we went to. We went to the Inside 3D Printing, or 3D Printing and Additive Manufacturing Summit. That was about 2 weeks ago now. And we're going to talk about some new hires that we've had here at Fargo 3D Printing. A little bit of a gaffer's tape, so a new product that we're bringing as a spare part, replacement part. For the MakerBot Rep 2s and the MakerBot 5th Gens. Talk about another trade show we're going to be going to in about 2 weeks, and then we'll finish out with the LulzBot. Then got some a little bit of a fun competition thing going on at the end, so stick around for that. So, Pittsburgh trip. We got back, when did we get back? I don't even remember.
It's a couple weeks ago now. So the Pittsburgh trip, first of all, the 3D Printing and Additive Manufacturing Summit. This is a little different than some of the other events that we've gone to. This was, some of the other ones we went to was more open to the public, so you had a lot of attendees that would go to it. Just general public, trying to learn more about 3D printing, figuring out what it's all about. This one was more aimed at higher education and the industry. So just anyone that's looking to get started 3D printing. Well, I should rephrase that. Not anyone that's looking to get started 3D printing, but people who are trying to figure out the business implications of 3D printing. How is it going to be disrupting their current business operations, that sort of thing. So there were about 170 to 180 attendees. You had a lot of C-suite or C-level executives that were showing up there to learn more about it. A lot of presidents and vice presidents of different departments. Just all that kind of stuff. So it was an interesting mix of, and also some people who were doing research. So you had people from universities or independent inventors who were working on a new product, that type of thing. So it was a much
diverse.
You got more into the nuts and bolts of 3D printing. It wasn't just, what is 3D printing? How is 3D printing going to change manufacturing? It actually would go in depth into how 3D printing is going to change manufacturing. Not just that it is going to change it, but it would talk about case studies. So companies that are using 3D printing to either innovate more quickly or reduce weight in a piece that they're using in their product, or how it's saving them money, that type of thing. And in some cases, how 3D printing isn't the best solution. Just because 3D printing is here doesn't mean it's always the best thing to be using. Traditional manufacturing still reigns supreme in quite a few different areas.
Definitely. And I mean, we got to see some pretty cool thing. We got to go see Carnegie Mellon University. Yep. Got to see their additive manufacturing. So they have a couple different metal 3D printers. If you want to rattle off the acronyms, I know.
So one of them is so they have two machines. I think
EBM.
That both use not EDM, EBM. So EBM is electron beam melting. So what this does is it actually melts the metal by firing a beam of electrons at it. So it's very appropriately named. And that results in a finished part that has a rough surface, because with the electron beam melting it creates almost like an orange peel type of texture on the metal.
Yeah.
Or like a sharper version of an orange peel, if that makes any sense. They were hoping to have another type of 3D printer there that did metal. That was going to be a direct metal laser sintering machine.
Lasers.
Yeah, so that one you're able to get a nicer surface finish. I don't think it prints quite as quickly as the electron beam melting does. I forget what the positives and the negatives are of electron beam melting versus direct metal laser sintering, but I do know DMLS, that one, it has a better surface finish.
Yes.
And they were hoping to have that one installed, but then the manufacturer said it wasn't going to be there for another 2 weeks, or it had just arrived in country. It just hadn't been shipped to the university yet. Yeah. But then we took a look at some of their other 3D printing capabilities. They don't really have too much on the desktop side yet, but what they're looking at doing is adding a couple maker spaces on campus. So one of the maker spaces is going to be more in the engineering school, where the engineering students have access to it. So a lot of desktop units, a couple middle range units, think along the lines of like a Stratasys Dimension or a 3D Systems Project, some of the kind of mid-range 3D printers. And then they're also going to be adding a makerspace for the general student population to have access to, and that's going to be, I think, almost exclusively desktop machines.
Yeah, because I mean they had a MakerBot Rep 2 and a Rep 2X there. which is cool to see. They also had, I mean, among other things, not 3D printing related, they actually had mills, some regular mills. They had some lathes. I mean, they had a really nice lab and a really nice facility for that stuff. I mean, I'm jealous. I went for mechanical drafting, and I wish I would have had access to more of that equipment. But it was really, really cool to see how they want to incorporate 3D printing into their engineering, because they realize that, hey, this is another form of manufacturing that they want to incorporate. So it's really, really cool to see how they're going to be using it, and I'm excited to see what some of the students are going to.
Well, and it's one of those things. I mean, yeah, it's been around for a long time, but now that it's being more known in the general public, and I think among manufacturing companies too, they're starting to learn more. Okay, well, this is what 3D printing is. It's not just for the big boys to be playing around with. It's much more accessible. Students that are going to be graduating from school, it's something that the manufacturers now are looking for skill in graduates so they can hire them. Because a lot of the old guard in manufacturing, it's not something new that they want to learn. They want to be able to hire this new talent. So, I mean, if you're a university doing any type of manufacturing engineering degree or any type of design degree, if you're not doing additive manufacturing already, you either have missed the boat or you're very close to missing the boat, because it's something that everyone is starting to implement.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it's something that helps them stand out a little bit more too. I mean, the universities, I mean, it's going to be, I have no idea where I was going with that, but I was going somewhere.
No, I mean, it's a good, it helps keep the universities competitive. It's a competitive edge over another university. If they both have a manufacturing engineering degree, but they don't have some form of additive manufacturing in there, I mean, the student's going to go somewhere else that does have additive manufacturing, at least as an offering.
Definitely. So, Pittsburgh trip, we were the sole, so this Additive Manufacturing Summit, we were the sole sponsor of that. So, we had our Cube Pro out there, Duo, we had our MakerBot 5th Gen, our MakerBot Mini. It was just cool seeing all the different people out there and talking with them and seeing what their industry was in. There's a couple defense contract companies out there, one more along the fabric side of things. There were some international people there. So it was really cool to see all these different people collaborate and talk about 3D printing. And something that I was really excited about was Emmett, the guy that made the stretchy bracelet and the heart gear. I got to sit on the bus back from Carnegie Mellon Hall with him, talk with him about some things that he's working on. We got to grab lunch with him. It was just cool to see and talk to somebody that's kind of really well known in the 3D printing world for creating that stuff.
And it's cool to see what Emmett's doing in the 3D printing world. So right now, he was an aerospace engineer, and he just took up 3D printing as a hobby. And he's now working at Microsoft, they're trying to make 3D printing in Windows as easy as 2D printing is. So working on plug-and-play drivers. So I know PrinterBot is a good example, where if you take a PrinterBot printer, plug it into a Windows 8.1 machine, Windows will automatically recognize it. It'll have the drivers already figured out. So if you have an application in Windows that ties into their 3D printing, I don't know if it's a kernel or how they're doing it, but if it ties into the 3D printing stuff, you can just hit print in that app and say, okay, well, what do you want your settings to be? Do you want it to be sort of medium, high, low? What speed, what kind of infill, and then you're good to go. You don't need to run it through another slicer program. It just knows how to do that. And I know one of the other people that we talked to a few people from Autodesk.
Yeah.
And so I know Autodesk and SolidWorks as well. So Dassault Systems, they own SolidWorks. Autodesk, they think along the lines of Autodesk Inventor, AutoCAD, Fusion 360. They're working on getting that functionality into those programs. So now you don't have to export your STL file, run it through your slicing program, and then 3D print it. You'll be able to hit print from within those CAD programs and have it be ready for 3D printing.
That's going to be really nice.
So sort of to piggyback on that, one of the speakers, it's Eagle, I forget what his name was, but the company he's with is My Custom 3D. He's working on a plugin where as you're designing something in these CAD tools, it will analyze the model that you're designing, and based on if you tell it this piece is going to be manufactured in 3D printing, and it'll tell you, okay, this wall is too thin, or you can even specify what kind of 3D printing, whether it's going to be fused deposition modeling, so think along the lines of a MakerBot or a 3D Systems Cube, or if you're going to be doing multi-jet printing or selective laser sintering. you'll be able to know as you're designing it, hey, you're going to run into problems with this design, and be able to design it on the fly to be able to be easily 3D printed. The way it used to happen is your designer would design the model, they'd export it, they'd send it off to the person who's going to be 3D printing it. The person would 3D print it, analyze it, or not 3D print it, but analyze it and say, okay, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and then have to send it back to the designer, and then that, wash, rinse, repeat, have to do that process over and over again. And so even though 3D printing would help speed up your prototyping time, it added a lot of extra sort of wasted time on the design side, because if the designer would have known as they were making it what's going to work well and what's not going to work well, then they wouldn't have had to do that whole back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, look at how fast 3D printing in general has changed the design process for design engineers from idea to final product. Now just think of how much more faster that's going to be with this addition to that. So,
right.
Pittsburgh trip, all in all, was great. We got back really late. We drove there in a day, drove back in a day. Straight through. It was fun, but we're going to change gears. We're going to talk about our new hires now. So we started the company back in January of 2014, so this year, with just John and I. And then throughout the summer, we grew the business, working with different schools, education, engineering. And recently, as recent as about 3 weeks ago, we hired our, actually take that back. We've had kind of a part-time guy around the shop here for the last probably 4 to 5 months. Mm-hmm. Todd, he's been great with putting a lot of your spare parts that you guys get out there. He's been putting those packages together. He's been helping assemble those, manufacture some of those. Our first official hire was our PR intern. About 3 weeks ago, we added Katie onto the team. She works primarily with social media, promoting those different things, those different platforms for us.
Event planning, that type of stuff. And we have some interesting announcements coming up. We're gonna have some events going in November, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll have more information on that within the next week.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we hired a multimedia intern, Eric. So he's actually the guy behind the camera right now. So thanks, Eric. And so he's been helping out a lot with product demonstration videos, videos showing how to be replacing some of the parts on the printers, how to unclog a clogged extruder nozzle, for example.
Too.
Yep. So doing that kind of stuff, as well as helping with the podcast, taking product photos. So it's great to have him on board helping out with that, because there's a ton of stuff involved with that.
It's a whole nother monster. And then the last one we've hired as of now is our sales guy, Aaron. So if you guys call in or ask any of us questions, you'll probably be talking to Aaron. Great guy. He's knowledgeable in both MakerBot, 3D systems, as well as our new LulzBot line that we're carrying. So he can answer any of those questions for you. He'll be fielding a lot of those inquiries. Don't worry, you can still talk to us. He's just going to be kind of the gatekeeper for that, so answer any of those questions for you. So yeah, we have a family photo that we put up on I think our website or something, or we'll put it in the link somewhere in here to show you guys. There's 6 of us. It's really great. Love working with everybody, and it's just going to be interesting to see how we grow as a company, going forward. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the gaffer's tape. So what gaffer's tape actually is, and we'll put a link on the video to an even more description of this. So it's pretty much like theater's duct tape in a way. It is used for kind of putting down cords, different wires along in the different theater. Holding different things together. I used it quite a bit in my theater experience in high school.
Yeah, so if you've ever been to a concert and you see these cables that are held down with this weird looking duct tape, that duct tape is gaffer's tape. So one of the cool things about gaffer's tape is that it sticks very well. I mean, that's one of the reasons it gets used for concerts and in theater, is it will stick to, it'll even stick to carpet to hold stuff down. The other nice thing about gaffer's tape is it's very durable. It usually has people walking over the top of it, so think a durability level like duct tape, but even though it's that strong and it's that tacky, it peels off pretty easily.
There's no residue.
You have to use some force to get it off, but yeah, it doesn't leave
that sticky stuff on there.
Yeah, it doesn't leave that residue behind. And so you might be wondering, why are we using gaffer's tape on our print beds instead of blue painter's tape? Doesn't blue painter's tape work well enough? Now, the thing with blue painter's tape, We've never really had a problem getting the print to stick to the blue painter's tape. Where we ran into an issue was getting the blue painter's tape to stay adhered to the print bed. So we would have...
And whether it's acrylic, glass, we didn't try it with heated yet, but acrylic and glass primarily.
Yeah, so the blue painter's tape, if we had a print, even in PLA, depending on the temperature conditions in the room that you're printing in, even PLA on a large print will start to curl up a little bit on the sides. And so we didn't have an issue, like I said, with the print sticking to the tape, but it would start pulling the tape off the bed. So we were trying to figure out, okay, what do we have that can stick to the bed, will stay really stuck, but also doesn't make a huge mess. And gaffer's tape is a really good solution to that. It's a bit more expensive than blue painter's tape, but it sticks really well to the print bed. It also lasts longer than blue painter's tape. It's just, like I said, it has almost a duct tape durability. And we still once we put the gaffer's tape on the print bed, we still put a light hairspray coating on it, because that also makes a big difference in how well the print sticks to it, but we haven't had any issues with getting the print to stay stuck to the gaffer's tape.
We haven't. And with the with lasting longer, so your painter's tape, it could last you one print, it could last you 5 prints. Gaffer's tape actually lasts you about 20 to 30 to 50 prints, depending on what you're printing. So I mean, it's a lot longer, and that's why it's a little bit more expensive. But it's just in the texture of the top, it actually allows the raft or your part to grip into that tape a little bit more, so that when you get bigger parts out on the edges, that curling doesn't happen. And I know probably in the next podcast we'll talk a little bit about helper discs in that regard, because that'll help as well. But just out on those edges, that raft biting into that gaffer's tape is really nice. And one thing that we've done with the MakerBot Rep 2s and the MakerBot 5th gens is actually pre-cut slices for those available on our website for sale. I think they're like $4 or $5 a sheet.
Yeah, and we'll throw a link for that in the show notes too, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, so and I mean, we got them both for the 5th gen and the Rep 2. It's great to use. Haven't had any complaints so far about them, but yeah, it's just a really, really great tip and trick that we've learned over the last couple of years with 3D printing. So, next trade show we're going to. Next trade show we're going to is Inside 3D Printing in Santa Clara, California. That's in about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, so, well, we leave in 2 weeks. That's another one that we get to drive to, so that's going to be a fun, nice, long drive. Jake and I will get to know each other very well.
And Aaron.
Yep.
And Aaron will be joining us.
Aaron's going to be coming with us, so if you've been itching to meet Aaron, our sales guy, he'll be at the booth to help field questions and that kind of stuff. So this event is, like Jake said, Santa Clara, California, October 21st through the 23rd. Yep. So if you're going to be in the area, please come visit us. Come check out our booth. I believe we're going to have some of if you're curious about some of the replacement parts we have, we're going to have some stuff for sale there. And one of the cool things is Lulzbot, one of the lines that we carry, they're going to be unveiling a new version of their 3D printer there. So
very cool.
Yeah, so it's going to be, think a smaller version of the Lulzbot Taz, if you're familiar with that. Open source, all metal, hot end. So I mean, the materials that the Lulzbot machines are capable of printing is pretty incredible. We're going to have a few different materials there that we'll be printing. I think we're going to be working with some Ninja Flex as well as some other materials.
That is a great material. I love
that
material.
I mean, we're really excited to be working with Lulzbot. Like I said, they're going to be making that announcement at our booth, so definitely come and check that out. It should be very
great.
Cool. Yeah, so we can't share too many more details.
That's about all the farther. We got another juicy one to go to here. Is we're going to be releasing something at our booth. Dropping things.
Yeah,
getting all excited, John. We're going to be releasing something of our another product line in conjunction. So check that out. I can't say much more of that, but it's going to be great. We're going to make an announcement, some press after the show. We'll talk more about it. We'll be giving away some free stuff in regards to it. Again, that's all I'm going to say. So back to the Lulzbot stuff. So we just started carrying the Lulzbot brand or the Lulzbot line about probably a month ago?
About a month ago.
About a month ago. we're getting our first Lulzbot in here in the coming weeks to start working with. But you've actually used one in the past, one of their first versions.
Yeah, so it was probably one of the first 50 kits that they put together. Well, it wasn't a kit. I mean, it basically came pre-assembled, but I had version 1 of the Lulzbot Taz. They're now on version 4. They had they got a lot of the kinks worked out with the first one. The first one was good. Definitely had some room for improvement, but one of the first prints I made, actually this blue vase that you see here, this was printed on the Lulzbot Taz 1, so it did a really nice job on the print, and I mean they've just expanded their capabilities quite a bit. And we brought the Taz on because, well, we already sell MakerBot, we work with 3D Systems, and we had quite a few people asking us, okay, well, what do you have for open source options? What do you have for the people that want to just really rip into the guts? I mean, the MakerBot and even the 3D Systems stuff, they're hackable to a point, but they don't really emphasize their hackability. They're going for the usability side of things. Think
Plug and play.
like they're trying to go more on the Mac side of 3D printing, whereas the Lulzbot Taz, that's your Linux side of 3D printing, where you can tweak just
everything,
the living tar out of it. I mean, it's pretty impressive what the Taz is capable of. And I mean, one of the things I was talking about earlier, the NinjaFlex. So from what I understand, the Taz 4 is the best printer for using if you're printing NinjaFlex. So it actually has a specialized extruder head, and you just swap that out with the original one. And so if you're not familiar with NinjaFlex, think of it as it's almost like you're printing a silicone rubber.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a very durable, strong rubber.
So the shows that we've gone to where we've seen the Taz in action, and they actually have a video of it on their site, it's just a 10-inch or an 8-inch by 8-inch square of NinjaFlex printed 2 layers thick. So I mean that's only 2 layers thick, and normally if you printed that in any other type of material, you bend it, it's going to break, it's going to delaminate. But the NinjaFlex, you can basically take the stuff, twist it, pull it. I think they even had a video of someone they threw it over the top of a rail, so they grabbed one on each side of the rail and pulled down like with their whole body weight. They hung from it, and it held up. I mean,
and the only reason he fell down is because he
lost the grip.
He lost the grip.
Yeah, he lost his grip on it. I mean, that's for a 3D printed material. That's pretty impressive, and the surface finish is good too.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there's not a lot of warping or anything with it. I mean, it's just and with the heated bed platform, that Lulzbot, it's a nice, like John said, it's a great printer to be printing that stuff with. So I mean, I'm excited to print with that. I want to see what comes off and what's the next things that.
Well, I mean, and if you're prototyping something and you're looking at, okay, well, this part needs to be flexible with a normal fused deposition modeling printer like the MakerBot, you just can't do that. Well, not without hacking it quite a bit. But the Taz, it already has something designed to let you do that.
So now you can actually 3D print your watch if you wanted to.
Right.
The band and all that.
Right.
So that's neat. I'm excited, and we'll have more information on that once we get it in. We'll have some pictures. We'll do a product review on it. We'll also do some product reviews on the Cube Pro that we got in, as well as we'll be getting a Cube 3 at some point in the next couple months. So that's pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so the last thing we're going to cover, so the competition that I've been talking about. So right now I'm wearing a M-State Tech College, so Minnesota State Community and Technical College here in Moorhead, Minnesota, so the sister town to Fargo, North Dakota. I'm a graduate, so I'm an alum of a 2-year mechanical drafting program. I'm wearing their shirt today, so shout out to Joe Mrazek, Keith Johnson, and his first and second year students over there at M-State. What we're going to be doing each podcast is I'm going to be wearing a different shirt, and it's going to be somebody. It could be your company, it could be somebody that you want us to sponsor. It could be a charity that you want to sponsor, and
or an organization or a school club. Any of that kind of stuff. Any
of those. And what I'm going to do is we'll get the shirts in. I'll wear a new one each podcast, and then at the end of the month, so every fourth one, I will actually give away a free spool of filament to one of the ones that I wear. So you got a 1 in 4 chance of winning some free filament. I don't know. It'll either be translucent. It might be some of the NinjaFlex. So when you send it to us, make sure the return address is to where you want that shipped, so then we can get that into the drawing and have a little fun with it. So the only rules that I have to it is nothing inappropriate and nothing vulgar. That's all I got.
Keep it clean, kids.
So, with that, I think we're going to conclude our third podcast of of what we got going on. We'll be back next week with some updates of things that we've been working on this week. We'll have more information on our upcoming events, and then maybe release some new little things that we've been working on. So on behalf of John and myself, thanks for watching, guys, and tune in next week.
And if you want to keep up to date with everything else that we have going on, definitely like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, or if you want, sign up for the newsletter on our website. So on behalf of Jake and I, thanks again.
See you later.